The EUL 2021 season has now begun, and we have seen one entire Playday upon which to make judgments about every single team. Playday 1 is now gospel. Sorry, GT. I really wanted to have a look at what we have seen so far, and if you follow me on Twitter, you may have seen me tweet that now I'm not casting EUL anymore, I'm allowed to be biased. And everyone knows that I love Russian teams, so Empire versus VP. I'm even wearing my little Russian Major League badge. Someone on Twitter described this series as unstoppable force versus immovable object, and they were kind of right. This was the first ever EUL game to go into overtime, and both sides were 3-3, so there was no discernible numerical advantage on either side, and yet I still think one of these teams showed better adaptability than the other one. The game was on Cafe Dostoyevsky, which is a map that is notorious for its lengthy clear times and vertical holds, and to many people it's become quite stale, but I still think we've seen a gradual change of how it's been approached over the last year or so. I think this game highlighted some of the flaws in both of these two teams' playstyles, but also some of the strengths too, and that's what's so interesting about it to me, I think, is how the two teams' playstyles combined to give that kind of insight. For example, Empire really struggled to attack onto the bottom floor. They had an insufficient clear and ran out of time. Meanwhile, they actually had a really strong defense against Virtus.pro on it, as they had a extension out into Bakery and a really strong west side hold. Meanwhile, when you look up at the top floor, Empire's attack looked way better, and they were pretty swift at opening up the breaches into the backstore, into the washroom. Meanwhile, VP really struggled with that, and they only actually found success on the attack onto that site once they decided to bring in an east side push as well. So let's have a look at a couple of these rounds. Empire's issues with the bottom floor were highlighted in rounds 1 and 4, both of which VP won. VP held the site with a semi-soft freezer wall and a player in VIP. Empire went for a freezer hatch approach both times, which meant their focus was on taking control of the middle floor and white stairs. However, VP placed a lot of their players off-site, meaning Empire weren't too successful in clearing the site from above, and when they finally looked to push into the site, VP were in a position to collapse onto them. They also weren't thorough in their clearing of VIP. Joystick would remove the shield, but there would still be a player there, and even brown stairs who could control that avenue of ingress. Empire's defensive kitchen in round 8, however, was particularly successful. They had a stronghold out into Bakery and Small Bake, with the reinforced wall in Bakery allowing Scyther to play there with the protection from the Small Bake window. VIP's attacking approach was predominantly west side, so they were looking to control Bakery and red stairs. Even once the Small Bake wall was breached, Scyther moved into Small Bake itself and could stop anyone coming down the red stairs. However, in round 11, VP were quick to adapt to the same defensive strategy by going for a freezer hatch take instead. At a 4 versus 4, they went in for a smoke plant, and Empire were too slow to react successfully to hold the round. For VP's upstairs defense, they electrified freezer and washroom walls, with players further back in the site, as well as roaming on the middle floor. Empire were quick to take piano control, as well as using their flank drones downstairs to keep tabs on the roamers. Scyther took red stairs flank watch, which allowed the washroom to be breached and the freezer to be cleared with relative impunity. Despite Karjeka getting a 2k, Empire were already deep enough into the site to have the control they needed to win the round. Even in round 5, where VP tried to hold piano from the start of the round 2, Empire's focus on the breach and ushering Shepard in like bodyguards gave them a decisive victory on the attack. Virtus.pro were a lot slower at attacking the top floor. Empire also held a mid-floor roam and electrified both freezer and washroom, with soft walls in cocktail for the long angles. VP had more of a focus on trying to clear from Skylight and much less on trying to breach from piano. The only breach they made was a soft breach onto the bar wall. Their inability to push forward into the middle of the map wasted time and forced them to get aggressive at the end of the round. However, when round 10 came around, their approach changed. They still failed to open the breaches, but their adaptation involved coming in from all angles. WTG from Cigar, Pasha from Skylight, and the rest from the eastern windows. They failed to kill off the players in Freezer, but Rask and WTG coming in from opposite sides of the map provided a pinch that was sufficient to not only take Empire by surprise, but take them out entirely. Both of these teams played really well and really interestingly, and there were some classic characteristics of both of their playstyles that did remain. Empire played a lot more objective focused, really focused around their attention towards Shepard and enabling him, whereas VP were very quick to launch into a more aggressive affront if they felt they needed to, and were far less attached to sticking to the same approach if they figured it wasn't working. Of course, it is way too early to judge either of these teams by just one game, and I think the fact that it went into overtime says a lot. But for me, Virtus.pro showed a lot better adaptation, and they warmed to their more characteristic aggression as the game went on. But as for who's better, I feel like a parent who can't choose between their kids. All I know is I'm excited to follow both of their journeys through EUL as Empire look to retain their dominance and Virtus.pro look to take their first ever major win. I thought the first day of EUL was pretty exciting. I need to go back and watch a couple of the games over a bit. I want to have a look at how Chalet was played as well, as that was the first map that we saw for the whole day. And yeah, just EUL looks really exciting, and I want to have a look a little bit more. So much to do. I want to know what you guys' thoughts are though. What do you think about EUL so far? What do you think about these two teams specifically and how they played? I've spoken to people from various teams who have given their opinions on them, so I know that both of these teams are quite well revered. And maybe I'm biased, but I always find the Russian teams incredibly fun to watch, so I'm excited to see more of that. But let me know what you guys thought of this video, and I will come at ya with some more content in the very near future. Goodbye. Actually, I'm representing Russia, so I'm gonna do like I don't know how they salute in Russia. We'll go with this. Goodbye. In Russian.